Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 3rd, and the time is 6:30 p.m., and I'd like to call this meeting to order. First up is our student showcase.
Great. So this is something that the committee has seen before, but we're excited to kind of bring it full circle. So last year, just to provide a little context, and I'll let Ms. Jordan come up and fill in some of the gaps. Last year, might have been a year and a half ago, we had started talking about the dinosaur in front of the schools. There was a group of students at the junior senior high school who came forward and felt like they wanted to symbolize something, that the prior painting had little meaning to the schools, and they proposed something that symbolized a welcoming environment, an inclusive environment where everybody comes to learn. And it started with a design project at the junior senior high school. I think a former committee member said, what about East Meadow? So we kind of took a step back and opened it up to all students in the district and allowed students to submit different designs for the dinosaur. We received hundreds of designs. There was a committee of students and staff who got together, narrowed that down to 4, and one was selected last fall, and they've been working to design that ever since. So I'm going to have Ms. Jordan come up and fill in some of the gaps that I left, but I know a lot of time, effort, and a lot of people's parts has been put into this, and we're excited to show off the design tonight.
And we're excited to have a finished product. So everything that Superintendent Sullivan said is pretty accurate. It's been a very long process, but thorough. Students in K through 12 had the ability to participate. And as he said, we had a lot of submissions. And the student leadership group that we have established at the high school, that is comprised of students in grades 7 through 12, made a final selection, had narrowed it down, and then ultimately the school voted and selected Lila Tierney's. And Lila's original submission, we recognized her last year. This was her original submission that she had created. This is what Lila's idea of an inclusive environment, embracing diversity, and Lila doesn't know this, but underneath the can't tell what it is, right? It's a tarp. We felt before we wanted to put it back out there for everyone to see that we wanted Lila and the students that worked on it, painting it this summer, to put their final twist on it and to be able to see it first. So Brandy and Jess and Peyton, why don't you come on up? These are the high school students that came in over the summer. They were really excited. Home Depot didn't appreciate us as much when we asked for several samples of paint, and they did great work this summer. Came in on, I think, 2 or 3 separate days, and Jessica Hilabowicz and Brandy Dumas and Peyton Justin were the 3 that came in to do it, to make Lila's design here today. So what I would ask is that, you must have done a really nice job here. So Lila, why don't you come on over, and you guys can go ahead and uncover it. Letters of appreciation to all the students that participated, and Lila, this first letter is for you, recognizing you and our sincere appreciation for your participation in the Dinosaur Project. You bring great pride to our school, And we want to thank you for your design that symbolizes a welcoming, respectful environment here in the district. Thank you for guiding this work. Jessica and Brandy, to ensure people, when they drive by Granby Public Schools, they recognize our community as we do, as welcoming, inclusive, and diverse. So this letter is for you, sweetie. Thank you. And Kate, and we'll get that to her tomorrow. Jessica and Brandy, and I would just ask that the two that worked on it over the summer, they prepared something very short and sweet to share with you.
Yeah, so I was part of the original group that did the article about the dinosaur. So we saw that there was some like negative views on our past dinosaur, and we just wanted to have it be more inclusive, especially with like a lot of things in the school environment that could be like harmful to people. So it was great that we could have somebody younger make a good design for us to use and just welcome everybody to our school.
Yeah, it was a very fun project, and we were really happy to work on it and really honored. We're part of the, arts community at our school, and again, we wanted to have, everybody have a voice and be able to be included and just have that representative in front of the school. And so we did come in on 3 days over the summer and spend a couple hours each working on it, and it was a very fun project. It was just really exciting to be a part of this and have kind of our mark along with Lila's, and so it's just a very fun, opportunity to have to go with.
It's beautiful.
No, right now. Do you want to come up and take photos? Does anyone else want to get in the photo?
I don't want to block the dinosaur.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to take away from the stars here, so.
You want the family to answer with them?
You want me to take your phone?
Just don't climb on the dinosaur.
3, 2, 1.
Are you okay to get a picture of the dinosaur? Okay. All right.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you again. Quite the symbol. Every time people drive by, there's something that you both created. Pretty powerful. Very good for you. That's awesome. Yeah. Good for you. And look at that. It came to life. I was looking here. Like,
I thought that
great
thing was going to be a
design
whole
and
hell of a lot
they
heavier.
brought it to life, so
It's going to be able to be like, just.
thank you.
Just a check.
Thank you. It's a long time since that first meeting. That you didn't get to-
happen.
Absolutely.
A diamond fell out.
Stop it.
I think my day is just like done. Like this one.
I thought you were going to be like, yes, thank you, Captain
I was
Obvious. I
thinking about
appreciate
sliding it, but it would have went right off.
Thank you.
Stand up gently.
Thank you.
and check your phone.
Thank you, of course. Thank you for coming.
That one real far.
That's
Left didn't work
much
so
closer
well.
than I would have made it.
Your bag.
Do you think you just noticed it?
I have no idea. I mean, how did I not notice that all day?
A diamond fell out of the ring.
So just give me a quick second.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to find anything in there right now.
So I just want to take a second to and acknowledge, I think we talk a lot about student voice and choice and student ownership in schools, and this was very, very much student-driven. I think adults help facilitate and provide some guidance along the way, but really the idea generated from a group of students, the design was from students, the execution through students. So just want to acknowledge that, this is one of those things that's a product of when you do give students the opportunity to choose and take on leadership roles, they can do great things. So I think that's another demonstration in why we want to have high expectations for students and give them that voice and choice to make decisions in the district. We often say it's not our district because we have a title of superintendent or principal. It's the student's district, and credit to them, and look forward to seeing this on the front lawn in the coming weeks.
It's just great. It really is great.
Is there an estimated time when it's going to be out there?
I mean, my plan was tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I would say it would be likely by the end of the week.
Okay.
So, fortunately, the weather this week is cooperating, it looks like, and it's going to be outside in the rain and snow anyway, so.
Right.
Let's just give Stephanie a moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. She should be back shortly, hopefully. Okay. Hey, George. No, we're taking, we've got a little break in the action here.
The dinosaurs taking their 3 minutes.
I have these two items in my drive that I need to request access for. I just want to make sure they're the right thing. SIP and EMSIP.
Yep, that would, EMSIP was probably from, you might be getting
I don't know.
set talking points, that's
Yeah.
from Ally, so we'll have to give it. Bless you. Your
Just you,
document
and you
too,
can pass
Ally?
it to Jen.
I don't see anything. Am I missing the stuff about the donations in here? I don't see anything for the two donations. I didn't before. I just looked again to see if it was.
No. David, did you have anything for our donation in the folder?
Yes, thank you.
Is it in the folder though?
What's that?
Was there anything in the folder?
No, it
Oh,
was,
thanks.
I didn't put anything in the folder. It's our current vendor.
I think we're gonna just hold off for Stephanie. They were just looking for that, David.
I was just
sorry.
looking to see if there was something in the
And then nothing,
folder.
I have
for the
something
girls'
from
soccer.
Dylan, but I can turn it into something.
No, that's fine. I just was curious. Usually, sometimes there's stuff in there, so I just wanted to make sure. Oops.
I just put the girls' soccer one in there.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No, gosh, no worries. I wonder why I can't see it.
You might need to just refresh your drive.
Oh, okay. And my Outlook is on the right, which is what I use most of the time. There it is, thank you. We'll give her another couple minutes and then we'll, come back. I feel like we should go and help her, but probably. So is this different than what we did for the donation last week?
We never voted last time.
Okay.
Because we,
Got it.
I forgot to come back to it.
So we should make an amendment to the minutes then, because it says vote. Oh, it says all in favor, got it, okay. Maybe just update that we didn't circle back. All right, for these next couple things, I think we can go ahead and give Stephanie a few more minutes. Next up on our agenda is the consent agenda. First up is minutes from September 19th, 2023. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? Any questions or comments on the minutes?
Nope. Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Excellent. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is warrants 19 and 21. 21, Stephanie's going to finish signing here momentarily. But any questions on those warrants? Hearing none, I'll take the motion.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the warrant 19 and 21.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is the donation of a LaserJet printer.
Thank you. The vendor who has been serving us for some years for our photocopier services and our copy services, again, made another donation. The high school principal expressed that they were short a device on the second floor of the building, and we didn't have anything in the budget to purchase one. So I reached out to them, and they had one that had been recently retired from another client. But interesting, it was almost brand new. It only had like 1,000 print jobs on it. So it was set up somewhere used for a short time, and then they donated it to us. I usually sit after the school committee accepts the donation. I usually will send out something to them just saying thank you very much. The school committee, the school is, grateful that you helped us again. So, any questions?
I appreciate the donations. Any questions or comments?
Oh, that's
Hearing
wonderful.
none, I'll take the motion.
Make a motion to accept the donated printer.
Have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
David.
Thanks for working on those, David, that's awesome. All right, next up is a donation for girls soccer.
So we brought this up at our meeting 2 weeks ago, and I never came back to it. So the girls' soccer team received, or is asking to accept the donation for practice jerseys, and the donation is being made from Berterra Management Company in the amount of $960. There's a connection with one of our girls' players that work for the company, and Bertera was happy to make this generous donation for our girls' soccer team.
Any questions or comments?
I believe the discussion was the logo. Was there going to be a logo appearing on the pennies?
That I don't have.
I didn't have that written down.
And even if there is, it wouldn't bother me. Just bringing it up for the point of conversation.
Yeah, and I don't think it's pennies. I think it's actual jerseys. I thought
Okay.
originally it was pennies, but I think they're actually like practice jerseys that the girls can wear. I believe like reversible, so they can do like split up the team and things like that.
It's very nice. I think we should accept them.
Yeah.
I'd like
Oh,
to
yeah.
make a motion to accept, if everybody agrees.
Can I have a second? I'm like tongue-tied tonight.
I'll
I'm sorry.
second.
Blah, blah, blah. All those in favor?
Aye.
And thank you very much to Bertera Management Company for the generous donation. It's really appreciated.
And we will send a thank you there, but I'll also request a picture just so that I include in a school committee update. So I'm sure you'll
Perfect.
see one without a picture, but.
Probably see one soon. All right, next is visitors' comments. Any citizen wishing to speak before the committee must sign in with the administrative assistant prior to the opening of the regular session of the school committee. The visitor will identify themselves by name and address and shall speak for no longer than 3 minutes. For anyone unable to sign in ahead of time, we ask that you clearly state your name and address so that this information can be included in the record for the meeting. I think we're good. No face. Julie,
Reach out.
Yeah.
Reached out and I'll circle back with her.
okay. I know she is the manager for one of the soccer teams, so.
Mhm.
I apologize, but I'm gonna scoot out
Okay,
and run home,
all right,
because I'm not going to focus right now.
okay. So let me know. All right, next up is superintendent goals.
So I had shared these at our last meeting. I just wanted to give an opportunity for people to take a look at them. And if they had any questions, I think I had said last time, they're very much connected to the district improvement plan and strategic plan that was shared with the committee a few weeks ago.
Any questions or comments on the goals?
Just wanted to know what the REDI stood for. Ready?
Racial equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Okay.
A lot of acronyms. So feel free if you have questions. I thought I spelled them all out somewhere, but I could have certainly missed some spots.
There's not really any difference from when we looked at them last week, right?
No changes from last week, and I
I
hadn't
just
heard
wanted
from
to make
anyone.
sure
Yeah.
that I wasn't missing something that was different. Are there any comments?
And I think the REDI stuff could be divisive within the community, so it's important that we do it right. Can't go wrong with foods. Everybody's happy around a full stomach, and like cultural foods are awesome. You know, who gets mad at a barbecue? Same thing with sports, like multicultural sports. I don't know how to play cricket, but that'd be really cool.
Mhm.
New diverse sports. That's something I think people could get behind is food and sports is unifying. So, yeah, as long as we do it right, should be okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike. I don't disagree. I think it could be divisive, certainly not intended to be, and I think what my hope is long-term is that this ready work is not something done separate. It's considered in curriculum decisions, it's just becomes the way we do business, that all students are inclusive, and this, I get Ready has a racial equity, but I think of it also equity, diversity, inclusion about students with disabilities, LGBTQ students, right? It's not just about race or anything like that. It's about welcoming all of our students, all of our families, finding value in their backgrounds, their beliefs, their understandings, and how do we pull that out, and how do we support students in making sure that when they may look different or feel different, that they still feel welcomed and appreciated and valued in the community. And I think, right, I didn't write these goals planning to have this dinosaur next to me during it, but I think just another like example of the work. And it's not about like pushing an agenda or anything like that, and I recognize it could be divisive, but that's certainly not my goal. My goal is that we're taking from different perspectives, different backgrounds, and making sure that we become one community who can support each other.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with food and sports, because, I mean, there's plenty of that around the globe, and like you said, there's no reason to be off-putting or non-inclusive. It's done correctly.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, should be a welcoming place.
Appreciate that.
If there's no other comments, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent goals.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
These look really good, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right, next up is policies IJOA through E, or dash E.
So this is.
Is it dash E or A through E?
It's
E 1 through 4.
E 1 through 4.
Oh, IJOA dash E 1 through 4.
Yes.
All right.
So this
Wow.
is just, same with D here, the mask policy. So this is just, we talked a little bit in the policy subcommittee 2 weeks ago. There's just some like little cleanup things. So the 4 things addressed here are basically permission slips or forms that fall under the policy, but they were listed as policy, and the intention of the policy was to simplify it and build some more robust procedures, which I hope to be sharing the procedures with you in this week's update or next week. The district leadership team has them now to look through, and it's essentially a checklist of things for in-district, out-of-state, overnight field trips to make sure people are being thoughtful about those things. So look forward to, like I said, getting feedback from the district leadership team now, and I'll certainly share with this committee for any feedback before pushing that forward.
So I
So
don't
the
know.
intention here is to just say, we're rescinding these as policies because we have IJOA policy in there. The forms aren't policy.
Right, and IJOA had the wording that we were specific about, leaving the procedures up to the superintendent and kind of specified within like student handbooks, or being specific about that way, as opposed to each individual piece being its own policy.
So one thing, so we're voting on these field trip forms, but I'm sure it's just because of how it is, but the form is kind of like, the formatting is pretty awful.
Well, because we're looking to get rid of them as policies, and then they'll be prettied up as a procedure.
All right, that's the part that I
within-
wasn't understanding.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're voting to rescind.
The vote is to rescind, yes.
Okay, so just make sure when we make the motion that is clear. All right, so we'll do IJOA-E numbers 1 through 4 to rescind. Can I have a motion? Oh, wait, is there any other questions? I just kind of jumped right ahead. Any other questions?
No questions. I'll make a motion to rescind IJOA E1, 2, 3, and 4.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So then this puts us in better position to have everything line up, because that's where we stumbled previously.
It just, yeah, it cleans up the
Mhm.
policy and separates it from the procedures. And I don't know if you want to try to just take it out of order.
Yeah, I was gonna just say, we're gonna just skip over improvement plans for right now, and we're gonna do rescinding policy EBCFA, the mask policy.
So the mask policy is stated in the document. There is a line in the mask policy that it can be in effect until rescinded by the school committee. So again, just a little bit of cleanup.
Any questions or comments on that?
Does it have any bearing on what's happening currently for students who are coming back to school?
Nope, so
After
our
they-
policy, like the guidance that we
Yeah.
provided to families is the CDC guidance based on the return to school.
Mm-hmm.
So, days 6 through 10, they're expected to wear a mask, but if they test negative on consecutive days,
Right.
it's tough to keep up. But no, it wouldn't have any bearing on that. Our
Okay.
school nurses are still getting, this was more about when everybody was wearing a mask, what it had to be though.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? If not, I'll take the motion.
I'll make the motion to rescind policy EBCFA.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is school improvement plans. First up is the high school.
Ms. Jordan?
Come on down.
So again, I think this is a place where we're working to get better. I think last year it was January or so by the time we shared school improvement plans with the committee. I know the school improvement plans are living documents that the principals and their school councils and schools start working on in the spring. It informs summer planning. They're put into effect as the school year starts. But we're just trying to move up the timeline to get the information to you all. There's no vote required. It's more just so you have an idea of what's happening at both schools and how those are connected to the district improvement plans.
Excellent.
Mr. Rodriguez, he's the interim assistant principal, and I put together some talking points, really to try to simplify what our document is trying to say. We did align it to the district improvement plan. We have 3 goals. We did meet with our school council, and they have provided some feedback, but we still will continue that work. I did give them a bit of a timeline. So our first goal was really focused on establishing a comprehensive and equitable data-driven process for enhancing student learning outcomes, ensuring every student has access to personalized support and resources regardless of their background or circumstances. And when doing so, one of our big pushes next door is to create data teams and calibrate the focus to consistently and uniformly analyze data using IXL, MCAS data, AccuPlacer data, PNAS, CELIS data. Those last 2 are really social emotional data reports when we give the students surveys. So really using all of that data. In addition, we are partnering with the New Teacher Project and had created a walkthrough tool that we are honing in on math instruction and curriculum in our district. So we are looking to improve a lot of work in the math arena to really shift mindset and how we're delivering instruction to our students in junior high all the way up to 12th grade. So that is ongoing work. It's likely that shift in instruction is likely going to take a couple years, but we wanted to record that down here, that work isn't going to be done just in the math department. It's going to be done with leadership as well. It's really a collective effort. It is directly connected to creating structures for your data analysis and action planning, which is outlined in Stevens District Improvement Plan. There are some other talking points on there, but I didn't want to read through all of them. Does anyone have any questions around goal number 1?
The New Teacher Project, that's the tool that we've heard about a few times now with the checklist for when you're doing observations and things. Is that the same thing? I just want to make sure I'm connecting the dots.
It's connected to that,
Okay.
yes. The TNTP has a focus on math this
Okay.
year. So we have a learning walk tool that we use on our district learning walks and go in and look at specific elements at both schools. The TNTP rubric focuses specifically
Solely
on
on
math
math.
instruction, so yes, very much connected, but
Okay.
slight difference.
Got it.
And looking at the data from last year using our walkthrough tool that is not the TNTP, that was used recently. The data from last year was showing that we there is a need to shift instruction in math, and that's really why we're moving forward partnering with the TNTP. Because the data is showing that, not just the data through the walkthrough data, it's also in addition to MCAS scores, things like that.
Now, the TNTP, it says the new teacher project, but is it really only for new teachers? Because I would think there might perhaps be some need with some teachers that have been around for a bit too.
Yeah, no, the TNTP is essentially the company, the new teacher that.
I was taking it literally, I'm
yes,
sorry.
and it may have started that way, but I think they've grown into this like pretty significant partner with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, where they're providing support on a number of things, implementation of curriculum, instructional shifts, coaching, evaluations, like they're really have become like a big partner to DESE, and they offered a 3-year partnership with districts around shifts in math instruction last year, which we applied for and received. That's how we entered the project with them.
Okay.
It's been a great experience so far.
And it's through the Learner, LAN, the Learning Acceleration Network. So acceleration is the big push, and when we talk about some of shifts in instruction, not just in math, there is data to support the idea around acceleration, and I guess, I don't know that acceleration is the best word, but that's the word that they're using. It basically means teaching students at or above grade level. So you're not remediating, even if students have fallen behind, you're not remediating, you're not playing catch up in the first month. You're teaching your grade level curriculum, and then when you get to a topic that a student might struggle with because they have a gap from a prior year, you're building in supports that they might need. So they really need to know long division to do this, but it's a skill they haven't mastered. I'm going to spend a day or two teaching long division before I get to this next skill, so they're prepared to tackle it at grade level.
Excellent. All right, next goal.
The second one was to provide a continuum of support so that we can ensure equitable access and inclusion for all students to meet their individual, social, emotional, and academic goals. This was very similar to how our goal was written last year in our school improvement plan, and felt it was really important to continue this work. So we did add in, we took off the work that we had already accomplished in last year's school improvement plan and tried to add in some new work. The student leadership group of some of the students that were actually here today are part of that group. And we added in new students as well from this year to have equal representation from each grade level. And that work they are in the process of designing our advisory program to bring it back, which is really cool. We met for a 2-hour training last week and designing the program, and then it was a 2-part meeting that we had training with the students. The second part of that was to go over the 5-step program from the ADL. And that work is work that they are going to be continuing to explore with the school. Those students have been invited to a webinar on October 12th, and we're really excited for this opportunity. All the work will come from them. It's going to take us a couple times. Our hope is to implement advisory in November at some point. The other piece on here, it was engaging staff in professional development to support the Ready work, the race, equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives, and empower them to actively advance this work across all aspects of our school operations. And that could look like a number of things. As you see here, I didn't highlight it in yellow, but under Goal 2F is talking about the portrait of a graduate, and this is work that will be ongoing through the year, is to start planning for some of that work and what that will look like in Granby. So Goal 2 is definitely, it's definitely heavy. It's going to take some time and commitment from students and staff this year, but we're really excited for this work. It's directly connected to the district improvement plan to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as to celebrate differences and embrace diversity.
Question?
This is in the folder, the October 3rd folder?
Mm-hmm. It's SIP Talking Points is the name of it.
Oh, I have to request access. I don't have access.
You probably just need to refresh, because that was initially, and then it was granted.
Gotcha. Double secret probation.
Did you have any questions on goal number 2?
Nope, just following along.
Okay. Goal number 3, last year we had a goal of narrowing the writing gap, and through speaking with members of our school council, they really wanted to keep goal 3, but we wanted to put a twist on it this year. So we wrote, implement a school-wide writing improvement initiative, which is really broad, right? So we're trying to really look at goal number 2 and how goal number 2 and 3 connect some way, because it's the work that's being done. But really looking at the curriculum, our course outlines, and incorporating diverse perspectives, histories, and contributions from various racial and ethnic backgrounds. And when doing so, we were hoping to work towards creating a peer-based writing center out of our library. So we know we have a lot of work to do to make this happen, but I think we have the ball in motion in order to do so. It is connected to the high quality instruction to create structures and data analysis and action planning in the district improvement plan. There are other bullet points on there for you to review. Again, some of it may be redundant from what you may see in the second goal, and some of it is work that we were working on last year, like the course outlines, but we're looking to take next steps with the course outlines. So now that we have some of those written, we are looking to vertically align those and horizontally align this curriculum as a next step. And then also training the staff in culturally responsive practices to make sure that we are incorporating text that has diverse perspectives. So the ELA department will be working on that this year in their hours of power. Yeah, this goal number 3 is really heavy too, but this is where we landed, and it is in draft form. Again, these are just a few talking points to how the document does look right now. We're trying to change the format because the format was really hard to read, but we have it, and if you'd like to see it, I can certainly share it, but it is in draft form, and I'd prefer to share it after.
I think this is a good sort of snapshot of what it is that you're looking at. For me personally, I appreciate this because it's very clear what it is. And I like how the yellow is highlighted so we know what's new as opposed to what was last year.
And some of the highlight is new, but some of the things that are not highlighted are still new. We just wanted to kind of sum up some of the most exciting parts of the school improvement plan that we've been talking about a lot.
And you don't need a vote on this, right?
We do not.
Okay. Any other questions or anything on these?
The symbols that are displayed in the school, I would just be careful with it. I know Boston had some issues with, they allowed certain symbols to be flown on their third flagpole in front of Boston City Hall, and they were sued by the counterparty that wanted their symbols displayed. And because it was a public facility, they ended up going all the way to Supreme Court winning, and then the city of Boston took down the third flagpole as opposed to put up that secondary party's symbols. So if we allow a certain batch of symbols to go up, there's always the possibility that somebody with the counter perspective on the other extreme could request, and then we would have to oblige them in the same manner that we had obliged the first party.
I know in that specific instance, there's some districts have voted in policies around flags and things like that too. So I'm happy to, if we
Can't
needed.
go wrong with municipal, state, and federal flags on public buildings.
Yep.
But anything other than that, it really can get dicey quick.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if you fly one, a counterpoint would be legally entitled, based off a recent Supreme Court ruling, to have theirs flown as well, which, you know, that's my 2 cents on it. Just be careful, because if you push hard in one direction, you leave the door open to swing back and have it pushed in the opposite direction, and then things kind of detract from, you know, the basics of education that we're here to teach these young people. That's my 2 cents.
I think we were more so thinking of implementing more diverse readings through authors and things like that, and working with Chartwells.
Okay.
To bring in different types of foods, and I think those are areas, you know, and we're always open to suggestions, like.
I think it would be awesome when you introduce new types of foods, if it's correlated to geography and history to the foods, like a little placard, because stuff like that kind of sticks with people. You know, it's lots of different sensory things going on, and if you lock in the information at that point. But yeah, it's that's all I wanted to say on the matter. I think alternate perspectives are important, and we should be open to new experiences and ways of thinking. But this is also a public institution, and we should be aware that if we display or push in one direction, we need to leave it open to the counter response to be pushed in the other direction, and that's it. So let's do some learning.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just appreciate the equity piece. I think when you're thinking about audits and things that happen, when you're talking about regulations and laws and making sure those are being followed, when you can really show what the district has done to kind of provide that equity piece, because I know, like, when DESI comes in and they are looking for that in terms of resources, materials, you know, along those lines with the readings and all those pieces, like that's going to be a big one.
Important one.
So the fact that that's a piece that's incorporated and kind of carried throughout this, I think is great. I also appreciate the fact that the student voice piece, I think as much as educators are helping students, students are also have something to offer and helping everybody learn and kind of grow around them, because oftentimes they're the ones that adjust the fastest and easiest and are kind of teaching everybody else. And their voice throughout some of this work too, I think is great.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks, Ally, and
Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez too. I
Thank you.
appreciate all the work.
Thank you.
Okay, Lisa. Do you see the EM one?
I found
Okay.
it, yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Okay, so we have in our school improvement plan, we have 4 goal focus areas. And the first goal is based on some of the walkthrough data that we took last year. As the superintendent has shared, we have weekly walkthroughs, and through that data, we looked at different areas in the classrooms. And one theme that emerged for me that I wanted to focus on this year was to look at working towards making some shifts in our instructional practices. So it was not so much of the teacher stand and deliver, although there are varieties of structures in classrooms, but we want to look at students having more interaction, more voice, focus on more collaborative learning, creating some learning experiences where we can really maximize the learning and prioritize, like, what are those standards that we really want kids to master. And we want it to be in a way so that it's culturally responsive and inclusive of all students. So providing opportunities for multiple ways to show how you're learning things, so that it's not just like, you know, one cookie cutter approach. We want to make sure that students can demonstrate what they're learning and access those higher levels thinking skills. And really this first goal is, the focus is more on teachers. Like, what are teachers going to be using? What are they going to be participating in to help them move along in this shift along with me. So we're continuing with our year 2 literacy grant and continuing to incorporate evidence-based early learning practices. This year, the focus will shift a little bit into comprehension, and we're also including the preschool as well, so that it'll extend down to our earliest learners, and because we get those students typically coming in as kindergartners, and so we want to start front-loading really early and have, all be on the same page about like what are the best practices according to science of reading, and what do we need to ensure that everyone's getting consistent instruction and getting building those foundational skills, because that's where it all begins. With our consultant, we have schedules weekly where the consultant comes in, she visits all the classrooms, provides feedback, she offers up coaching, co-teaching, modeling. There are a couple of full-day institutes with some really good speakers. I think the first one we're going to see in October is Melissa Orkin, who was phenomenal last year, and we're thrilled that she's going to be there again. And there's also 6 after-school early literacy professional development sessions for staff, and there's stipends for staff, so that always helps to improve attendance. And we have a core team who, with representatives from each grade level, and we'll be doing some work taking on like the leadership piece for the school.
So, just real quick, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
You said for the consistent coaching and modeling and support with the consultant through every classroom, but your slide here says only through grade 3.
Right, that because the early literacy grant, I should have explained that, is only preschool through grade 3. Okay. But in my work, I will also be, the 4th bullet down, I'll be going around to look at all classrooms to get a sense of the Wonders implementation, how are staff using best literacy practices, because we need to make sure that we have that vertical alignment too. So through feedback and ongoing professional development, we want to make this shift so that we're becoming more aligned, not only horizontally, but vertically too.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, sorry about that.
Oh, that's really okay. Feel free at any time. So the walkthrough tool that I'll be using will be to look at, I'll have a couple of tools I'll be using. One of them is I'm visiting classrooms to look at early literacy practices. I have a walkthrough tool from DESE that focuses, on those core processes that you want to see happening, like the use of phonemic awareness, phonological awareness activities, opportunities to practice vocabulary, all those little pieces that make up literacy. In addition, I'll also be with the district team as part of the walkthroughs for at the admin level. My tool will be looking at how are students engaged in their learning, what is the task. So really trying to hone in on collecting some data about those shifts that we're trying to make. But also working in collaboration with teachers. So the walkthrough tool will be shared with teachers. We're going to do some calibrating around that because teachers need to know what we expect in order to meet us at those targets. And so it involves some work around what does good instruction mean? What are best practices? So my sense is it's going to be a multi-year goal, but this is where we're starting. And we have a staff that really is dedicated and motivated to make some instructional shifts, and so I think this is a good time to do that. We already adopted ST Math, which is, you've probably heard of the Penguin or GT at Home, maybe not. But it's a program that we're working, it's kind of math with no words, and so it really taps into those higher level thinking skills of students using visual and spatial cues to problem solve a number of mathematical problems and using operations and all the different kinds of standards in mathematics. We're also picking back up on a grant we received a few years back, Project Lead the Way, and I have a team that is scheduled to go in 2 weeks to the launch meeting, and we hope to have that up and running this year with a couple of model units. And that is really it's a STEM activity kind of program, and it's really, you know, hands-on learning and kids working with materials and trying to solve real-life problems in a collaborative process. And we also will continue with our WIN block, and that is what we call our intervention block. And this year we're stepping up a bit so that we're looking to have regular progress monitoring cycles, so that, and really targeting where are the skills that we want students to grow and learn on, or if we want them to have a type of enrichment. Some students do really well and they're excelling. We want to make sure that everyone gets their needs met. And of course, all of this involves professional development for staff. Any questions on that one? Okay, the second goal focus area, this is really on students, and this is where we want to see that students continue to make progress in their academics at meeting or exceeding proficiency standards. We've been analyzing the MCAS data, and we have a lot of students just on that edge of partially meeting. And so we're really trying to hone in on, you know, where the areas of weakness, identify areas of strength, and using the data analysis to make some decisions about, are we covering it adequately in our curriculum? Are we providing students with enough supports around test-taking strategies? Using the computer seems to be a new challenge for students in getting what they know onto the page. We're also continuing to develop our multi-tiered system of supports so that we have different levels of supports. At the basic is the core level where all students access, and then as students' needs increase, then the interventions at tier 2 become more selective, and then as well as at tier 3. So we're trying to really expand how we provide supports and services and interventions for students, not just on IEPs, but for all students. And this year, we've already started to have some discussions among staff. I really would like to have some kind of after-school programming here that is free for kids. I know we have a pay-for program, but it's not accessible to a lot of families, and we feel really strongly that we want to have some offerings to extend the learning of the day. We have staff that are wanting to stay and tutor kids and kind of bring them up to speed. And we also want to offer some kind of programming. So for those students that, you know, maybe academics is not going to keep them after school, and maybe if we have some other kinds of programs like robotics or coding or art, or, you know, we have the Girls on the Run, which is great. So we want to start building that up. It's a great school. We have plenty of room. I would like to see it utilized more thoroughly after the end of the day. Okay, so that's goal 2 area. Goal 3 will continue to focus on our social emotional growth and development and school culture. The PBIS took off really strongly last year, and we have a PBIS team that meets monthly. We have just adopted the second step bullying prevention program, so teachers will receive training in the use of that, and they'll be adding it to their weekly SEL lessons. We revitalized the student council last year. That was a big success, and students are excited to have our elections again, and we have a plan in place, so students will get information in a few weeks. We'll have our student council elections on the election day, and we're going to set up a booth and try to really make it fun for them and experience what it's like to be a voter. The Swiss data, that is data from PBIS where we could input student behavioral incidents, and we track that. We're able to see a lot of data around the frequency, where it's taking place, the types of incidents. It gives us a better idea of where to provide maybe more staffing or have some more programming or curriculum to address some of the issues that we're seeing. Lunch Buddies continues, and students will still continue to earn those PBIS points, and the prizes have kind of ramped up this year, so it's generating a lot of excitement about what students can earn. I've had one student that has been hounding me since day one about this Matchbox car that he wants to earn, so we've had to protect it and put it in a special place so that no one else gets it, because he's so motivated to get it. So it's wonderful to see that it makes a difference. And we're also wanting to add some non-tangible items too. So it's not always a thing, but maybe it's your class gets extra recess, or you get to have lunch with somebody special, or you get to help out in a classroom, those kinds of opportunities too, to sort of give back to the regular community. And then we had our PBIS events last year. We want to rehost those too, and probably expand them a little bit more. Okay, and lastly, we need to work on attendance. And in our first year here, Mr. Rosenberg and I kind of experienced some patterns in really chronic attendance, and it did impact our accountability score. So we started off the year, planned in the summer, and we are very closely monitoring attendance. We are in the process of developing an attendance recovery plan. So for students who are out for a variety of reasons, we want them to have an opportunity to recoup that credit. And following our process as articulated in our student handbook, to have the letters sent out consistently, hold meetings with parents, but really try to work in partnership with them, because we realize that there's lots of factors that impact students' ability to get to school on time. And so we really try to problem solve with them and get creative and think about incentivizing, what are some of the other tricks we can try to make sure kids are coming consistently, and reinforce that message with them too. And I believe that's it.
Any questions or comments?
One thing that I'll just mention is, Lisa just mentioned the push for attendance. We are making a push around getting demographic forms back to, those are helpful for us in communicating with families to make sure that we have accurate information in terms of email addresses, phone numbers, and things like that. So I know we're hounding some people, and as soon as we get them back, we will stop hounding you. But
Yes. We will be polite
it does
about it.
help when we have that accurate information. And so I think just a plug for the demographic forms, really important to get those back. Not to mention emergency contact information and things
Right.
like that.
One other thing I wanted to add that I meant to put in here is we focus a lot in PBIS on students' positive behavior and reinforcing that and acknowledging that. We really want to start equally sort of highlighting students' effort and building that academic stamina and sort of celebrate academic achievement and growth, because and I think the growth part is important, because students will be all over the place, but we want to make sure that they're recognized for doing their best and making gains. And thankfully we live with a lot of data in our classrooms, so we have that data to show students. And so, teachers are printing out certificates and kids are celebrating around that. And we're trying to put up bulletin boards that recognize students and their growth and progress in the classroom. So I feel that's really important too.
Absolutely. All right, any questions or comments? Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Rural Schools Act. I have trouble with that word.
So that was, so that was me. And there was, I think, some information floating around kind of over the summer. It was brought up, and this, I'll talk a little bit later about it, or maybe not, in terms of, maybe not, in terms of the CES meeting, but it was.
Now's your chance.
It was brought up at that meeting. So somebody, you'll see it in the folder, there's, I think, a draft, or I'm trying to see the name of it for you so you can find it easier.
I see the Rural Schools Commission report, but there was something else.
There was. So there's the Rural School Aid that I had found, which was just like a spreadsheet of
Okay.
That's
potential.
FY '23.
Yep.
The Excel sheet. Got
And
it.
then there was another piece that was the full report, and then, where did it go?
Full report's there.
There was the template. I had seen it there.
It will be there in a second.
Okay, so there was a template of basically encouraging school committees to take a look at this information and kind of sign on to promoting the Rural Schools Act. And so I think a lot of the regional schools have spent a lot more time maybe talking about it.
I'm having to request access.
Really? Because it's not mine. Or I guess it is mine now. I'll share it later. But it is what I wanted to share was an example of a resolution template. Those are the words that I was looking for. And so essentially, when I went through the Rural Schools Act in and of itself, there were different points to kind of highlight and talk about of like where we might meet certain criteria, and it was most all of them except for kind of the regional part. So there was, you know, your population, if you were under 35 students per whatever mile, and we were like 28 point something, so we met that criteria. There's also like sharing of services that could be looked at, special education pieces, transportation, all these other criteria options of like how this money could potentially like benefit schools, and kind of looking at the overall formula in and of itself for schools that may be experiencing declining enrollment was one. I know ours tends to stay pretty stable, and I know there's like a kind of bubble that's coming up, but we also weren't sure going forward if it was going to just be a bubble, if we were going to kind of increase and be over that over a period of time, or what it was going to look like. But I know statewide, everyone's experiencing kind of a decline overall. So I wanted to kind of bring this forward to give people information, talk about things. I know this week, I believe, they're discussing it further in terms of the people that kind of brought the bill forward. And if that was something we were interested in doing and kind of signing on as a committee, just to bring that forward to us.
So what do we need to do in order to sign on? That's the resolution template?
Yeah, so there's a
Okay.
resolution template. Some of the information, they did it basically based on their district, and then, you know, districts have been adopting it and changing it with some of their basic demographic information. So we could look at adjusting that piece, and then attached to it is a list of contact information, which is literally all senators, representatives in the state, and their emails. So essentially you can, you know, almost email it back to yourself and attach all these people so that they receive the same letter if that's something that we want to do. And I'd be more than happy to like send that if that's something that we want to do.
I think it seems to make a lot of sense to do that, because it's another way to capture. Like, I know we've said in other discussions that we're sort of so borderline for what they consider rural.
Right.
which is shocking to me, really. But yeah,
But it is something.
right?
And if they do change the formula, I think our demographics have continued to kind of shift a little bit. So it may change a little bit over time, depending on what things look like. But I know, basically, the conversation was that the bills that get the most attention tend to get talked about the most and pushed forward the farthest.
We want to be in the part that gets pushed forward, that's for sure, right? And so this is it being sort of run through CES, or is CES just a vessel that's communicating it?
Because there's so many, so for example, there was like 25 different boards represented at our meeting last week. So somebody spoke to basically say, like, if you haven't signed on, would you consider doing this? And CES in and of itself had kind of their own restrictions about them being kind of the group, because we all belong to individual committees, which then posed a problem to kind of collectively sign on to one, because we were representing of our own group. But just to bring that conversation back was the intent.
Now, will we miss anything or cause any problem by not being able to do it until our next meeting? So I appreciate that we have this, but we don't have that template, and we need to get it filled out. So is it okay if we?
I know that things are happening, like I said, within the next couple of weeks. I had kind of put it out to just kind of see what we could do. But I think even if we just send it and add to, I don't think it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and I think the committee could vote to write a letter to support in favor of the Rural Schools Act, and then whether we use the template, we can get it out to you all individually to take a look.
We can't vote on it because it's only listed as discussion on the agenda.
Yep.
But I would definitely say let's put it on our next thing, and if you hear or see something where we need to do a quick meeting, we could probably find time to do it virtually if we needed to, just to get that going. But I would say make sure we have it on our next agenda as a vote.
Is the 17th too late, Jill, do you think? Or?
I know that they talked a lot about this week and next week, which was why I was just like, oh, I'm gonna try.
Okay.
But I don't, at the same time, there wasn't a sense in the room that if you couldn't do it, then don't, like, to give up.
Okay. So let's put it on for the next time. If you hear something that we should do that, let us know, and we'll try to get an off standard meeting at whatever time, even over a course of a lunchtime or something, to get everybody together virtually to be able to do that.
Yep.
And if there's something that we need to do beforehand just to get us part of it, if I need to sign something, just let me know. I can pop in, whatever. But we can't vote on it now because it's only listed as discussion.
Yeah, I think there was just not wanting to, just kind of wanting to bring it forward first and then giving people the opportunity, but yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Jill. Anything else on that? Okay. Next is the enrollment dashboard and school choice.
Yeah, so enrollment dashboard is cleaned up at this point. I know when we looked at it 2 weeks ago, there were some things, but this should be accurate as of last Friday. As we go till the end of the month. So enrollment right now is 707, which
was that our
is
number for
down
August
slightly
1st?
from
Was it
last year.
October
Last year
1st?
we were in the 725 range fairly consistently. But our school choice numbers are, I think we were 108 last year. We're at 107, I believe, this year. So we're close. It really looks like a little bit of a dip of in resident enrollment, but I think we know moving forward, based on some of the census data, we're anticipating a bit of a bounce back over the next couple of years. And we haven't gotten up-to-date census numbers yet, but we will likely in the next few weeks.
Any questions or comments on enrollment? And school choice, there's, we don't really have anything, any differences at this point, right?
No, not at this point.
Okay, next is, anything for, we don't have, our standing committees on, our standing reports on the agenda, so we can't do it because it would be, we would be in violation. So we'll just make sure, is there anything that we want to make sure besides the rural schools, for next time?
I think
And
we'd
it
like
should
the
be-
finance subcommittee. Todd's been working on the
I was just gonna say, I
FY25
think
budget
it's, I think it's a
calendar, so-
it should be a subcommittee meeting, right?
Yes.
All right, so finance and,
Maybe
and,
policy, because we were gonna work on a schedule, or you're,
I'll be out of town.
I can hold strong policy.
okay.
Text me, I can try.
Any other questions or comments before we vote to go into executive session?
I'm just gonna throw a plug out there that we talked about dual enrollment here a few months ago. I'm gonna send something out this week to the community, just looking for people who might be interested in participating in a work group to look at that. So, if there's a school committee representative that wanted to participate, certainly more than welcome, but I plan to have students, staff, some community members too, just to kind of look at our current practices, other districts, and eventually lead to some recommendations.
Excellent. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll vote to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part A3, to discuss strategy with regard to collective bargaining, as doing so in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session. Well, vote, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, everyone, have a good night. Thank you.